So at the time of recording this, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is about 4 or 5-ish days away, and I wanted to make some last minute kind of predictions and also some hopes. So it'll be a little bit of a mixture of predictions and hopes. I guess I'll try to differentiate when I'm going through all of this, which I think is more of a prediction that is likely or possible to happen, and some of the stuff that I just kind of hope for, and maybe there's kind of a crossover in that. So anything else that you guys think of, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to kind of speculate ahead of time and see what we could come up with and what may be right, maybe not. But do let me know in the comments, you know, what do you think is probable or even possible versus what would you just like to see, whether it is probable or possible or not. So if you enjoy this kind of content, stick around, my friends. It's going to be an exciting time. Obviously, you know, with the whole Nintendo channel that I have here, we kind of really started getting into it kind of pre-Nintendo Switch, and there was a lot of great memories with that. So shout out to all the OGs, and let's make some new memories with the Switch 2. So there's a few different things I'd like to see with the Nintendo Switch 2, and there's a few things that I think is probably going to happen, right? First things first, there's been so many credible sources and so many sources, different sources, about the Nintendo Switch 1 games being upscaled to 4K, and that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be 4K compatible, that I'm willing to bet that that's going to be the case. Now, with Nintendo, they always seem to be, in terms of like graphics and resolution, they always seem to be sort of like one step behind for some reason. So, you know, when everybody kind of in the 360 and PS3 era kind of switched from like composite cables over to HDMI, and, you know, everything was in HD, Nintendo took like an extra little while to kind of actually get there and then switch over to HD themselves. Excuse me. And then, you know, eventually we got, you know, we got all that, and then these consoles, these newer consoles with PlayStation and Xbox, you know, they switched over to 4K, and now I think Nintendo is going to switch over to 4K. Now that PlayStation and Xbox are probably going to start going into 8K soon. I mean, PS5 and Xbox Series X, I think, are pretty much compatible with 8K, if I recall correctly. I just never heard of anyone doing it so far, but yeah. So I think 4K is almost a safe bet with the Nintendo Switch 2. But in terms of you know, specs and things like that, Nintendo doesn't usually go too much into the specs. They're not like, you know, PlayStation or Microsoft, where they're like, hey, you know, it has this many teraflops and this is the CPU it's using, and, you know, we got all this architecture, you know, whatever, not architecture, that's not the right word. Anyways, you know what I mean? Like, you know, they don't go all into like the details the way the other companies do. So I think that's going to be something that we're going to see specs, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be revealed after the presentation, like on their website or somewhere else of the sort, maybe on the new Nintendo Today app. So I don't expect that, but I think they're going to showcase, and I think they're going to showcase some of the Switch 1 games being upscaled to 4K and kind of showing the difference, upgraded versions, if you will, running on the Nintendo Switch 2, whether it's faster load times, whether it's just, you know, smoother gameplay, higher frame rate, right? Like, I'm thinking about games, for example, like Monster Hunter Rise, right? It's a third-party game, but you know, I don't think they're going to show off Monster Hunter Rise, to be clear, but I'm thinking in terms of that, for example, games that might be similar to that, where, you know, that game kind of chugged a little bit, the frame rate, you know, and stuff. A lot of other games, you know, might have a lower frame rate. They're going to maybe show like higher fidelity with a higher frame rate, 4K resolution. I mean, you know, I think they're going to show off, you know, they're probably going to take Tears of the Kingdom. I think Breath of the Wild would probably be the better choice to showcase, to be honest. And I think there's a chance they're going to take Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, because I think more people bought Breath of the Wild. I think more people have memories with Breath of the Wild than Tears of the Kingdom. Again, Tears of the Kingdom was an amazing game, but I think if they're going to be showcasing some of their first-party games that are upscaled to 4K, you know, and just kind of how they function on this new console, and just that, you know, power boost, resolution boost, whatever it's going to be. I think it's going to be games like probably Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Well, I don't know. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is dependent, because we also have that new Mario Kart that they're showing off, and I think that's going to be a game that we're going to be seeing there. But I think they still might show Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in terms of like what you know, what can the difference be from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, Smash Bros. Ultimate. You know, I think those are some of the games we might be able to see. Now, in terms of, you know, everything else, right? So that's kind of like the game, the power and stuff. I think we're going to see games. 100% we're going to see games. I think, you know, we just got a brand new gameplay of Metroid Prime 4. I think it's pretty possible that we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 running on the Nintendo Switch 2. Some people were debating whether the current gameplay we've seen at the recent Nintendo Direct was gameplay on the Switch 2 or the Switch 1. I don't know. That's not the point. The point I'm saying is I think they're going to definitely showcase gameplay on it on this next console. I think that's definitely one thing. New Mario, I don't expect there to be a new Mario 3D game at launch. I think launch window. I think if this console is rumored to come out in June, and I think that's obviously one thing they're going to announce is price and release date, 100%. I think the price is probably going to be $400 USD, probably like $500 Canadian. I think that's probably ballpark where they're going to go. Might be a little bit more. Everything's a little bit crazy right now in the economy, but it could be a little bit more, but that's my guess, $400. And I think the release date is going to be the rumored June. I think pre-orders are going to be either day of or a week later. I think more probable is a week later on the 9th. That's been rumored as well. And I think that's more probable to give people, I guess, a chance to kind of, get ready for the pre-orders and give people a little bit of a heads up. So I think that's going to be how that goes down. I think they are going to probably showcase some launch window games, like a new a 3D Mario game. I don't think it's coming out at launch, a game like that. I think that might be a holiday game. I could be wrong. Definitely seeing the new Mario Kart. The question is, will we see a new Splatoon? Will we see Splatoon 4? I'm pretty sure, I think it was announced previously, correct me if I'm wrong, that they are working on the next, Splatoon game, if you will. But will we see that? It's possible. I don't know if it's probable. The difference between possible and probable is, like, probable is like it's likely. Possible is like it could happen. So I think it's more possible than probable. It's more like a 50-50 for me on that one. And so I think that's going to be a huge thing. I think we might see a new Mario Maker and or Mario Paint. Will there be some kind of Mario Paint, extra sort of functionality within a new Mario Maker? That is also possible, but I think that's going to be part of it because of that mouse functionality with the Joy-Cons that we're seeing, and it's pretty much confirmed. Like, we know there's an optical kind of sensor in there. Like, it shows it off in the trailer. We know this. So I think they're going to showcase, first of all, the different capabilities of what that can do, but I think part of that might be a new Mario Paint, because if you don't remember, if you're not old enough, back in the Super NES days, there was a Mario Paint that you could get with like a little Super NES mouse accessory, and so I think Mario Paint would make complete sense. I really think that's a high possibility. I think it's probable. I think that was probable, not just possible, but probable. I think it's very likely. Now I could be wrong, but I think, yeah, in terms of that, what else can that functionality of that mouse kind of thing do, right? I would like to see, Nintendo always uses their kind of functionality in all their games, unlike, PlayStation, for example, that does it for a couple games here and there, and then they don't really fully, capitalize on it. Nintendo always tries to capitalize on the features that they come out with, right? With the DS, I remember, Phantom Hourglass, there was parts where you had to blow into the mic to blow out, candles, for example, or, you'd have to yell into the mic, or you'd have to, like, close the DS and then open it to stamp something. It was so crazy, man. Things like that. And then the stylus, they'd use that a lot. So I think the mouse functionality could be something used in future Zelda games. I don't think we're going to see a new Zelda game necessarily. They might tease it, kind of like what they did with Breath of the Wild, kind of leading up to when Breath of the Wild finally came out, right? When it kind of had like a little tech demo. At that time, we only thought it was coming out in Wii U, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't think that was back when the Switch was called the NX or whatever. So, codename NX. So, I think that we might see a little teaser for like something Zelda, but it'd be very vague if we do, but I'm not willing to bet on that whatsoever. I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think that's, again, functionality. What does this console do differently besides that, optical mouse? Because there's probably a lot of stuff we don't know. There's that new C button that we really don't know what it's about on the right Joy-Con. We talked about that recently. It was previously it was an unmarked button. Recently on Nintendo Today app, the new render of the Switch 2 showed that it has a little C icon. So what does that do exactly? I think they're going to go into that and any other functionality, because I think there's more to this console that we just really don't know. I think there's a lot. I don't think it's just like a small little kind of like, upgrade or, in power. I think there's some, like, Nintendo does that. Even when they went from like the DS to the 3DS, there were a few, significant, gimmicks, if you will. I don't like to call them gimmicks because, like, it sounds like it's just like they're trying to sell you on something that's just like, fake or whatever. That's not it. Like, but I don't know what to call them. But whatever Nintendo does with these, these different ways to play, I love it. I love it. It's like one of the reasons I love Nintendo. So we're gonna see that. I think and I hope that they have something. So let's talk about like the UI and the eShop. The eShop's bad, man. Right now on the Switch, it's very, very slow, and it's gotten slower over time. I've heard people say, it might be nice to have them integrate something like PlayStation did on the PS5, right? Where you just kind of have the eShop sort of integrated into the main home menu somehow. I think that'd be good if they could pull that off. If it doesn't take too much kind of resources, depending what kind of specs this thing has. I don't know how much resources that would take. One of the things I really miss, and this does take resources, but I think this makes Nintendo consoles Nintendo, and I've missed it for a long time. We had it with the 3DS, we had it with the Wii U, we had it with the Wii. I can't remember any other console that we had it with. So we didn't have it with every console, but we had it with those, and I really enjoy this. And we have it with non-Nintendo consoles like the PlayStation, for example, PS5, PS4, PS3, and that is menu music. Okay, I like when we're sitting at the home menu. I like that menu music, man. Some of the best music for me for Nintendo music is like, especially on the Wii, there was like the the shop channel, and then there was the me channel, and then there was like the main menu music, and it just sets this ambience that you could just sit there. And it just feels so nostalgic. It feels so nice. I don't know, man. I love menu music like that. I love ambience kind of, I love that PlayStation's still doing that, and I really hope Nintendo would do that because it was missing on the Switch. The other thing that people really want is themes. We had themes, of course, on the 3DS. It was a missed opportunity with the Switch one. I think if they don't do themes for the UI on the Switch 2, like, come on, man. You got to have music return and then themes. And then if we're going really all out there, themes that have their own music, like on the 3DS. I remember where there was like Skyward Sword theme and had like, Ballad of the Goddess, and it had like, there's all these other different themes that had music, but there was a Breath of the Wild one that had the Breath of the Wild music, and dude, I love that. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, I think that'd be really great, so I'm hoping for that. I don't know if they'll do. I think they might. I think they've probably seen that people like really do enjoy that kind of thing. I think it's possible. I don't know if it's probable. I think it's possible. And that's what I'm hoping for. So again, in terms of the UI beyond that, obviously we're going to hopefully get a new UI. If we don't, that'd be kind of weird. And I can't wait to see what it looks like. I don't really have many more kind of thoughts beyond that in terms of the UI. In terms of accessories, I think we're going to obviously see a bunch of accessories. I think one of the accessories I would really like to see, and this is something I would like to see done, is obviously we're gonna get a new Pro controller, right? I got my Pro controller here. We're gonna get a new Pro controller. But what I want to see with the Pro controller is something that would be so cool. Okay, so I want to see a Pro controller that snaps in half. Like, it's if the whole thing is like everything's magnetic. Come on, there has to be a way to do that, right? It's almost like two Joy-Cons, snap them together. You don't need a grip. It's just how the Pro controllers are made. And you're probably like, what's the point of that? There's a couple points. Number one, I actually don't know how that would feel. I don't know how that would feel if you were just holding it in your hands in like two parts. If that would feel as good with the grip part that goes in the palm of your hand, maybe that would feel fine. But the main thing I would like to see it for is that if you can snap it on the side of your Switch, that adds sort of like grips, beyond just like the actual standard Joy-Cons. It adds that extra grip when you're playing on the actual, Switch in handheld, in the Switch 2 in handheld. So I think that would be huge. I don't know. I think it's possible. I don't think that's just one of my hopes. I think it's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but I think it's possible. So I think that's something we could see. In terms of other accessories, it really depends, right? Because there's rumor. Was a rumor? I'm trying to differentiate. I can't remember if it was a rumor or if it was a patent, but either way, there was talk about, the Joy-Cons or the console having a built-in microphone. And Nintendo doesn't do a lot with, online stuff, which is fine, to some extent is fine. I think they really do need to expand their online in some way, better servers and better functionality and better, better options. Have some kind of Miiverse sort of thing, like we had on the Wii, Wii U. I think that'd be nice, being able to play a social, especially if you have Nintendo Today, you can integrate an element of that into Nintendo Today, maybe. I don't know. Where it's like, you could share screenshots and video clips, and, obviously Nintendo would have to do it, with the Nintendo way. They like to keep things moderated and super family friendly. They don't want people abusing that, which I get, So I think that's one thing that that I'd like to see, in terms of the UI beyond that. But what I was getting at is, I actually forget my main point, but part of the point was an expansion of the Nintendo Switch online services, right? I've said this for a while. There's a game I would really love to see come back. I don't know if they're going to do this for Nintendo Switch 2. I would love if they did. This is one of the things I would love to see, but I don't think is very probable. But hey, it might be a surprise. Triforce Heroes. Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. That game had a lot of potential. When the servers worked, which was not very often, the servers were really bad. It was laggy. It was super hard to play. But the game was fun. It was like team up with random people, complete these, 3-person puzzles and stuff. It was really fun. And the concept was really fun. I would love to see that integrated into Nintendo Switch Online. Better servers, better, whatever. So just an expansion of Nintendo Switch Online in some way. I think they're always trying to find new ways to expand Nintendo Switch Online. And it'd be nice to see that, in whatever way that kind of entails. So I think those are some main things I would like to see. So off the top of my head, there's probably going to be something I'm going to think of after, closing out this video and after I post it on top of that. But I think that's kind of the most of it, the gist of it, what I think is possible. Like I said, we're going to get a release date. We're going to get a price. I think, I told you what I think the release date and price is going to be. I told you some of the games I think is going to be there. Mario Kart, new Mario Kart for sure. They're going to showcase some of the old games playing on the Switch 2 and what, some of the upgrades. Is it just backwards compatible? No, it's going to be upgraded versions of those games. I'm almost certain of that. So we're going to see that, I think, in terms of the functionality with the mouse, right, with the Joy-Cons and whatever else this console can do that we just really don't know, because again, we don't know too much about this thing. I think we're going to see that as well. I think we are going to get Metroid Prime 4 gameplay, hopefully. Some other surprises I think will be there. I don't know what. I'm hoping like, Splatoon 4. Maybe they come out with an ARMS 2 or something. I don't know. Maybe there's new IPs. I think, there's I think it's possible to have a new IP showcased, whatever that is, because with the Switch, obviously, one of the new IPs was ARMS. ARMS was fun, man. I mean, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with that game. But I think that's going to be some of it. I think they're really going to showcase the functionality of the Switch 2, what differentiates it from the Switch 1, and a lot of like that kind of sort of thing. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I can't wait. I'm excited. Let me know what you hope to see and what you think we can see or probably will see down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, subscribe for more, because listen, Switch 2 Direct, I'm planning to react to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are gonna come along for the ride for the next generation of Nintendo goodness and Nintendo content. It's been a good run with the Switch 1, but I'm ready to go into the Switch 2, and I'm really excited about this, and I hope you guys are too. So thanks for watching, and until next, my friends, game on. I'll see you guys soon.